All right, welcome everybody. Last episode of the year. We're going to have Haseeb with us. I'm very excited. Let's roll the intro. All right, steady lads. We have head hype man at Dragonfly. I think I got that right. My counterpart on Shopping Block, Haseeb, is with us, and we're going to be both recapping 2024 and also looking forward to 2025. And Haseeb is one of the people that whenever I have a chance to have a coffee with him, my mind is like going all kinds of exploring different directions. So I always enjoy it. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I mean, it feels like one of the most eventful years when I look at. We did a brief look at like our predictions from 1 year ago, when we were starting to exit the bull market, the bear market. We were sort of getting into the ETF land, the promised land. I have to say, like some things we got right and some things we got wrong. I think I'm curious, Haseeb, like what was your biggest miss of the year? We'll kind of get into everybody's biggest miss, but let's start there. I think what surprised you the most?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest miss in absolute terms was the run up in Solana. I was paying attention to Solana at the end of last year, and I think most people, myself included, had assumed that Solana was just left for dead after the collapse of FTX. And there was always this background NFT trading volume that kept Solana alive, and I kind of thought like, okay, that doesn't really feel like it has enough legs to potentially resuscitate an ecosystem that's had one of its organs ripped out. Like it really was built with this dependency on FTX, and with that gone, it kind of felt like it wasn't going to be able to make it back. It just had lost so much momentum and so much brand equity from the collapse of FTX. But then seeing this Memecoin thing starting to take off at the end of last year, I was like, okay, this is probably a flash in the pan. Obviously, the second thing I got wrong was the Memecoin bull run. But it's like, okay, this seems like a flash in the pan. This seems like kind of we're getting into a new crypto cycle. ETFs are taking off. There's now new retail demand, and there's this new speculative, energy around meme coins. But this is obviously going to be, I don't know. I was thinking like BRC20s, where it's like, okay, it's like a thing for a few months, and then everyone gets over it and they go on to the next thing. And I was just so totally wrong. Obviously, Solana now, it has this foundation of meme coin trading volume, which of course is driving a lot of the on-chain demand for Solana. But the Solana meme and the Solana tent has just gotten so much bigger. The development has velocity has increased. The amount of entrepreneurs coming into Solana has increased. Just everything now, stablecoin volumes, DEX volumes, everything, not just the meme coin stuff. Even if the meme coin stuff goes away overnight, obviously it would hurt Solana tremendously, but Solana now has enough of a foundation that it's not going anywhere anymore. And that was totally unexpected to me. Very much broke my mental model of how these things end up progressing.
I have to say, I think my miss of the year is going to be a combination of your miss of Solana and Justin's miss of selling ETH earlier. we both didn't sell ETH early enough, unfortunately. Right. Justin,
well, let's not forget, Shorty. I think at the end of 2023, you predicted that ETH BTC would go to something like 0.11, right? New highs.
0.07, wasn't it?
I think 0.08. Basically, I remember my prediction was that Bitcoin would triple during the year, and that ETH would quadruple, so times 4. And instead, I think we got like a reverse, like a times 4, times 3, maybe. So the ratio definitely was off in the end. I did get off the train a little bit earlier than you, fortunately or unfortunately. I still have a lot of ETH, but I think instead of being like a maxi on the ratio, I think I realized once the ETF timing kind of happened, then we got that temporary pump. But I have to say, I've been a little bit surprised with the SOL ETH ratio. I think we've obviously discussed it, that Solana has built the greatest casino on earth, at least, over the last 6 months. We'll see if there's a new casino now with these AI agents and where those move, or if somehow the ecosystem on Hyperliquid or Monad or one of these new chains, becomes the new casino. But I think, as Haseeb said quite well, the surprise has been just the amount of levels built on the Solana ecosystem, and that's been pretty astounding to me. How about you, Justin? Oh, Teiji, go ahead.
Oh yeah, sure. I think as a podcast collectively, we like on the way down of ETH BTC, we're like, oh, this has to be the bottom. This has to be the bottom. This has to. Oh fuck! Oh god damn it! Like, why am I holding this shit? So that's. I think collectively that's been like our.
You're not
I
right.
figure like I missed like memes in the Q1 and Q2, and I'm kind of learning from that, and I'm just like trying to shitcoin more and trying to embrace the crypto industry for what it is. So yeah, ETH BTC for sure, right? I think we were just clinging on to our bag buys and being community members. And I think the mistake everyone makes in crypto is that we just find a small community, like a niche within, like in CT, and we just join that community and we only listen to those types of people. I think what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to follow like a diverse amount of people. Like for example, like Sui, like I have no idea what the fuck's happening with Sui, but I'm like following random Sui maxis on Twitter. I don't really agree with anything that they say, but I'm like, okay, maybe it helps to at least have some stream of consciousness, like, so I'm just trying to be like more open-minded. I think I was way too close-minded like the first half.
Well, let me give a little bit of counterpoint to that, because I listened to the last episode where Vitalik was talking about how he doesn't engage with a lot of stuff that's happening in crypto, and sometimes he misses things, and it's like, look, it's just how it is. I think on some level, it's really easy to feel bad about yourself in crypto when there's that famous New York Times headline that I still love, which is everybody else is getting hilariously rich except you. And that, like, every cycle in crypto feels that. And on some level, you kind of have to decide for yourself of why you're here. Are you here to make sure that you never miss anything and you never let an opportunity to make money pass you by? Or are you here because like you want to do things in a way that resonates with you and what your style is and what your skills are and what you're best at? There's some people that they're going to make great meme coin traders, and they can just like, incur the brain damage enough that they can like predict where the waves are going to be moving to the next meme. And there's some people who are like, look, I'm never going to be good at that game. It's just not what I'm here for, and it's not what I enjoy. Like, I'd rather spend all my time in the Solana infrastructure world, or in the this world or that world, or trading NFTs for that matter. Like, there's still people trading NFTs. And if that's what you love, probably one, you're going to have a better time doing it, and two, you're going to make it anyway. If you just stick it out long enough and you get good at the thing that you're doing, like the number one thing that I see is that people who jump from trend to trend to trend, and they're bad at all of them, or they just like never get deep enough to be good at them, because like the reason why you're making money, someone else is losing money. So who's the guy who's losing money? The answer is somebody who's sort of jumping from trend to trend all the time. And the thing in crypto that people really do, I think the thing that crypto ultimately really rewards is discipline. So that's my counterpoint.
This was a good tweet this week from Darren Lau. He says, imagine you decided AI was going to be the narrative, and you bought Tau and Fed and Render and Akash, and everything is like down or break even. Meanwhile, like the vertical is going crazy. Like a bunch of stuff is up 100x. So it just, to Haseeb's point, it's so difficult. Even if you, I don't know, like it's so hard to try to get the narrative. Like the game is so difficult. It's not as easy as it looks on crypto Twitter, I would say.
Yeah, crypto Twitter is kind of like people. It's like financial Instagram, right? It's just like, oh, I'm so smart, But reality is, it's like
I've never heard that. That's a really good line.
Yeah, I'm like Omega mid curve, but like the AI agent stuff has like made me think a lot more. And we were talking about this before we went live, but I feel like the past 2-3 years, we really haven't had that many interesting metas. I mean, meme coins pumping are great, like it's fun and whatnot, but like no new like innovation, right? But like the AI agent stuff is like, I feel like there's something there. So it's like the first meta where I was forced to think critically about like everything that's happening. So like that's why I think everyone here we're all looking into it, right? But yeah,
I actually think that should be one of the main topics of today. Let's finish the specific category. Justin, what was your biggest miss? I'm guessing it's still not selling ETH, but is there anything else?
Yes, it's definitely that, but it's a broader theme. My biggest miss has been fading what upsets me. because one thing I've learned is if a token upsets me, there's usually something behind that emotional reaction. So like I faded Solana because it upset me, that I was upset that it was challenging ETH and taking a different approach to how important, decentralization was versus speed and executing like at the technical level. And so I faded it because it upset me and I didn't agree with it. But really, like they were taking an alternate path that made sense in its own right. I faded buying Hyperliquid because I used it but didn't get the airdrop and it upset me. I faded Goat because it was just a meme coin and it was stupid and silly and like inappropriate or improper. And now I've made a big change to that where when something upsets me, I'm looking into it more deeply, maybe getting a small position to see how it performs and trying to learn from that. Like if I'm getting an emotional reaction, other people are too, which is attention, and attention is all that matters in our space.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. Okay, actually, let's do all of our 2024 things before we move to the agents in 2025, because I'm sure that will come into the predictions quite heavily. We have a category here that I'm quite curious to hear what everybody says. Founder of the year. And let me start. Let me remind people our founder of the year from last year that everybody said. So we have Justin, Brian Armstrong. I think just a very solid pick.
You can't lose with that pick. I mean, I cheated basically.
We have Taiki also chose a founder of a exchange, FCZ.
I think it's because we went to jail for our sins. Right. That's why. Yeah.
And I think he made like $11 billion while he was in jail, from what I understand, or something like that. So I think it's still a good pick. My pick for last year that sort of impacted the game was Pac-Man. He was launching Blast, and at that time, he was the Ponzi master. Obviously, like probably one of the bigger disappointments of the year, not on the caliber of like a Friendtech, but that I would say hasn't translated yet. I'm hoping, obviously, for Pac-Man's sake, that a 2025 revival is in the cards. But let's go with this year. Haseeb, any founder? I mean, you work and talk with so many founders. It doesn't have to be a Dragonfly Portco. Who's your founder of the year?
Yeah, I was going to say Jeff from Hyperliquid, but I assumed that was going to be everyone's answer. So I thought, okay, I'll go a little bit further afield and pick Guy from Athena, who actually is a
Dragonfly portfolio
founder. That was your pick. Okay, all right. I'll stick with Jeff then. Jeff from Hyperliquid is number one founder of the year. All right, at least we're going to piss somebody off no matter what. So sorry to front run you guys, but those are my two picks in rough order.
I think those are very safe picks. I mean, I was obviously thinking about those two. I think Guy has surprised me more. Jeff, I would say I've known him for a while, and he has the advantage of being an HFT trader in the land of people building product. All these like people building dexes, and I've spoken to every single one of them that's built any meaningful dex over the years, or even sex. None of them come from like an HFT background like he does, and he actually understands microstructure. And I think the way that he's won, or at least kind of, one founder of the year from Haseeb, which is already winning something, is that by understanding the microstructure, he did a few things really, really well. One was this HLP vault, which would not be possible with somebody who didn't have this background. He kind of put together something that people could, in essence, become the house, become the market maker, become part of the sort of consistent yield and that bootstrapped activity, because a lot of the early people were not traders. They were just looking for something to put money and get yield, and that built the community. Not everybody's going to be an amazing trader, right? So he used his skills to build that. He also understood microstructure in a way that this HLP vault I think has some priority every block, or he also implemented some block priorities for cancels, which is a traditional thing. It's like a last look, like you have sometimes in FX. But by doing that in crypto, he allowed kind of liquidity to bootstrap more, at least to look really, really good. And I have to say, like the timing, I don't know if that was skill or not, but like the timing of their launch was just perfect. And Guy's was as well, just to get the Guy. I mean, the timing that he launched with funding rates, I think were just completely insane at the time that they launched. I remember like 15, 20 bips a window, that kind of thing were happening. And, you know, the reason I choose Guy is because I think the idea, even though I know Dragonfly invested and a lot of friends invested, the idea, the kind of buying staked ETH and then shorting the perp, I thought was not fantastic because it just didn't seem scalable. Like, you know, open interest over $1 billion, you start to skew the funding rate negative, and it doesn't make sense. But you know, to Guy's talent, like the guy is just a complete beast at BD partnerships. Just incredible what he's managed to take, like a mediocre idea, in my opinion. I know it's Arthur's idea, and Arthur's, you know, created a foundation for him, but he just took it and ran with it. And he's built his BlackRock partnerships, all this stuff. I mean, hats off.
Well, so actually, the idea. So I think Arthur popularized the idea, but the idea originally came from another project called Lemma Finance, which was back. We actually seeded Lemma Finance back in, I think it was 2021. I think it was like in the midst of DeFi summer, back when DEXs and on-chain perps were just starting to get real. Now, Lemma Finance made the mistake of trying to do everything in DEXs. And there was just way too little open interest at that time. People thought that, like, oh, okay, well, Spot is blowing up, Uniswap is getting really big, so surely perps will start to get big too. And they were just way too early because the DYDX was just so tiny back then on a relative basis compared to what you see in DEXs. And but they had this original idea, and then you might remember another protocol called UXD, which was backed by Multicoin, exactly, which was just like a clone of Lemma Finance on Solana. Both of them failed because both of them were kind of hewing stubbornly to this idea that everything has to be decentralized. But it was actually because we had seeded Lemma Finance and we'd helped out a lot with them, figuring out mechanically how this thing should be done. Guy knew Lemma Finance very well, and like understood how it worked, and was like, here's what went wrong with Lemma Finance. And I think actually the right answer is that you have to go to CeFi and you have to do off-exchange custody in order to make it trustworthy, blah, 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 all this stuff that mechanically, so like, yeah, the staked ETH is like this extra little, cherry on top. But the kernel of it was really, can you do this in CeFi? And in 2021, you couldn't, because off-exchange custody was just not a thing pre-FTX. So actually a lot of pieces had to come together for like this perfect storm to arise. And Guy, to his credit, he identified all of that. He understood that super, super well about the why now, which as a VC, you're always trying to understand, like, okay, almost always when you see a project in crypto, it's not the first time someone has come up with the idea. Very, very rare is it truly 0 to 1, right? Even think of Solana. Solana was not the 0 to 1. EOS was the 0 to 1. EOS was the first person who was like, we're going to take a totally different VM, super high performance. We're just going to focus on going super fast. And EOS didn't work, right? And so Solana was kind of like, we're going to run it back, but we're going to realize what EOS did wrong and do it better. The same thing is true of Athena. So as a VC, when we led Athena's seed round, we were kind of like, who knows if this is going to work? Like, whatever. It's like, I like the founder. I like the fact that they understand this problem structure really well. Yeah. But we did not know that it was going to end up being as successful as it ended up becoming, which I think in general in venture, I find that over and over and over again, is that you just don't fucking know. You can see the kernel of a good idea, but there's so many things that I thought were good ideas that failed, and so many things that, like the inverse, that I thought were terrible ideas that end up working out. And so it just teaches you to stay humble.
Yeah. Haseeb, by the way, like our audience, unfortunately, like Taiki has brought in a lot of left curve, farters in the audience. They're talking, and this is one of the comments that we're seeing. What is the sex you keep talking about? Who's building it? So yeah, this is
yeah. Ask your parents. I feel like it's not my place. If you're a Memecoin trader, I'm assuming that you're probably not at the age where you should be hearing about this.
We're
deprived of sex. Yeah,
we are deprived of sex. A lot more to go into, but I want to give you guys a chance also to hopefully give us other founders. Let's, if you can kind of go down the list.
I'm surprised none of you guys, this wasn't on anyone's top list. Maybe it's because I'm the ETH maxi, but I think Jesse from Base has got to be founder of the year, right? I think Base TVL has about 10x. Base is basically the hub of everything happening in Ethereum, and Base has like pushed the conversation ahead of, are L2s parasitic? Are they not parasitic? Are they helpful? And now for like the end user experience, your decision is Solana or Base. Builders are only deciding basically between Solana, Base, maybe a little Hyperliquid now. But for me, what I've seen Jesse do without a token is extremely impressive. And I'm excited to see what happens next year. I do think Base will release a token next year. That's one of my predictions, but we'll save that part for later.
Very, very good. Very good choice. I mean, I think he checked out at some point in the middle of the year, and then you could feel it on the chain. Like the chain was kind of like just being run over
he went
by
on his
Solana.
honeymoon, actually.
And then he came back, and like, you know, and then it's back. So you know, the power of his presence is clearly there. So that's a good pick. Aiki.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I think all of you missed one important founder, 0x Racer Alt with Femtech. Just kidding. But my real pick is I wouldn't consider him like a crypto founder, but I'm just very thankful that he helped birth the AI meta. It's Andy Airy. So he helped create Truth Terminal with the infinite backrooms. Admittedly, Truth Terminal is becoming less funny over time, and Goat's price is kind of suffering as a result. But because of Truth Terminal and Goat, it kind of created this new meta where it really it kind of resembles like the ICO era, right? Where all these tokens with real devs, they're launching on Pump Fund, Virtual, or just some other fork of a Pump Fund, and it's allowing anyone to like buy tokens, stuff a million. So I think it's like actually giving like equal opportunity for people to like identify good teams and good ideas. So you know, I'm really bullish to AI meta. And it wouldn't exist if it were not for Andy. So I think he played a role in creating this AI/crypto intersection.
That's a very good left out of left field kind of option. I wasn't thinking about that one, but that's a good backup to Jeff. So that's good. There's one in the chat that's interesting. Lucas from Jito. We have John saying Lucas Bruder, founder of the year, 100%. I think if Solana has a good year next year, then maybe he'll be on the cards. I mean, Jito has just been. They haven't done anything sort of like a firework, but they've just been like so consistent and on delivering and doing a great job. You know, I'm not an investor, but I've taken note and I've been quite impressed with what they're doing there. So that's a very good one. Cool. Let's do this one. CT personality of the year. Obviously, every year we have our colorful characters, whether it's the dope quans or, you know, there's always something going on. I think we've seen equally big personalities this year. I think Justin, you might have one of the obvious ones you wanna choose.
Yeah, for me, I would have to say it's probably going to be Murad. You know, I think his Memecoin picks specifically are less interesting than the sort of the theme he brought to our space, which I know, Haseeb, you've talked a lot about on the chopping block, and I think you have a very different perspective, which is very interesting to me. But I thought it was interesting how he made me rethink how I conceptualize what these tokens are worth and what's the underlying value there. And his thesis that it's literally just an attention game is really interesting to me, and that all tokens, 99% of tokens are meme coins, and that there's no actual value. There's no DCF model you can run. And if you run the model, it's not going to look good for you. And rethinking about XRP and Cardano as meme coins. And, you know, we can go down the list. 99% of these tokens have no value capture. It's just memetic energy. That has changed my thinking a lot. Not as interested in the meme coins, but he, you know, his talk at Token 2049 was actually an incredible talk. Forget about the tokens, but just listen to what he's having to say. And for me, that was very interesting.
It's the most viewed token talk ever, I think, online. So I knew you were going to go with that one, and it's a very solid one. Haseeb, do you have a CT personality that has stood out to you over the year?
Yeah, I would definitely have to go with Gwart. I think this was Gwart's year to really launch as a personality, and I think he's also kind of the perfect Oscar Wilde character to lampoon everything that's ridiculous about this market and this cycle. So I think it's kind of close between Gwart and Big Bird, but Gwart really has kind of gone mainstream crypto-wise. I think
who's the other one?
What is it?
The venture apologist?
A balloon lover, 0x balloon lover. Yeah, venture apologist. 0x balloon lover, I think, is also, but he's more of a deep cut. So if you want to know what all of the VCs and insiders they all watch They all watch Big Bird's Twitter. Yeah, venture artist. Okay, I guess he's changed his name. But yeah, he just constantly shits on everything. I think Gort is a little bit more. It's a little easier to follow, and he's more classically humorous as opposed to just talking shit. But yeah,
Gort has helped me. He's helped me win pasta of the week like 25 times this year or something. So he's crushing it for sure.
He is crushing it. So congrats to him. He also has his own podcast, which, good for him. He's got building his little media empire.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Taiki, who do you got?
Yeah, so mine was Gort, but I had to do like a little audible here. I think I'll have to go with Bonk Guy. Do you guys know Bonk Guy? I think he like levered long Bonk like right before the ramp up. I think he's paid like $5 million in funding on perps, but I think he kind of just allowed, or he's like a good example of what it takes to believe in something. He's still long. He's still holding his perp long on Bonk. He's up like 10 mil, paid like 5 mil in funding or something. He's still, he's still going for it. So I think I really respect that type of stuff. Of course, there's always elements of luck.
We could all just tell Taiki this was like a last minute pick. Haseeb took your real picks. You had to just think of something on the spot.
No, but you guys know Bonk Guy, right? You guys know Bonk Guy, right?
I do not know Bonk Guy.
Oh, Bonk Guy is like he's sort of like the Dogecoin millionaire of this cycle, and he's taking it like a lot further.
He's like Chris Moneymaker, but for Bonk.
Yeah, but I think he's much bigger than. I think Dogecoin guy got to like 1 million or 2 million, and then he like ran it back down to 200K or whatever. This guy has been like swinging some crazy pinouts around.
So this is like Chainlink God, but for Bonk.
Yeah, if you look at his pin post, click on his pin post, Justin.
Yeah, his pin post is from March, which tells you that I don't know how well he's done since then.
Well, I think Bonk hit new highs. I don't know how much he paid in funding, but he also like longed a bunch of like other stuff. He has like a pretty good hit rate for like just on-chain shitters. So
yeah. Okay, well now that Taiki is like a left curver, Bonk Guy is like the king of the left curver, so Taiki has to pay his respects. He has to pay his respects to his hero. Okay. I'm gonna nobody chose the obvious one. I know he's not exactly CT, he's kind of a CT plus CNBC. Michael Saylor, I mean, just like a phenomenon of sheer willpower plus mimetic lightning, locust energy. I mean, I just brought up his Twitter and like random shit like this. Can you bring up this tweet, Justin? Like this is just like every day for Michael Saylor is a quote like this. He says, if you're not buying Bitcoin at the top, you're leaving money on the table. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know, but it's provocative. Like the guy just, I mean, he has warped people's like sense of reality when it comes to Bitcoin and the prices it can go to. All the predictions. I heard your guys' podcast, Haseeb, and you guys were talking about 150, 180, and like, but then other, everything's going up. Like all the predictions, 250, 500, and I think Michael Saylor is responsible for a lot of this, really. And I have to say that even though he keeps buying the top, like, how did he buy like $105.6 thousand average Bitcoin price? I don't even know how he managed to do that last week. But despite this, I think he is successfully doing what meme coin traders have done, which is in essence, you make it so high that you get new buyers in that have to buy in because now it's a big cap. So like sovereign wealth funds, they wouldn't buy Bitcoin if it was under 100K, but over 100K, it becomes like a gold asset class. They'll buy it. And it's sort of just the power of the price. He's done it.
This is going to be great for our prediction section. I'm excited for this.
We have some people in the chat. We have this guy here, and like honorable mention. This is, but honorable mention from a Kadekakuk who says it has to be Taiki, the Lisan gave.
I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. Not until Farcoin pumps more. I'm just a mirror, or I'm just like a shadow.
Taiki, you did go from being like in the, in the DeFi farming trenches and being this like niche character that's just a very nice boy who's farming the yields.
Nice
You
boy.
went from that. You went from like, but before our very eyes over this podcast like year, you've gone from that to like full blown out. Like I am embracing the left curve and screw the mid curve, and all that stuff there. Yeah. So you're in the running for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I feel like if you've started following me this cycle, everyone just thinks I'm like this conservative DeFi mid curve or whatever. But if you follow me like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, like I was like a degen, right? It's just that during the bear market, I developed PTSD, which made me focus more on like fundamental analysis. And I think I still do that, right? But I think when we're in like a bullish regime, you kind of have to adjust your strategy. And then in the next bear/chop market, I'll go back to fundamentals. The true characters must transform. Yeah. So
shout out there.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
Inspiring. I give no fucks.
So we have two more awards for the year. Meme Coin of the Year and Innovation of the Year. Let's leave Meme Coin last. Let's do Innovation of the Year. And so innovation can be a protocol, it can be a mechanism. Let's take a broad definition.
All right.
Who's ready? Who's got
All right, I'll go
Innovation of the Year? All right. You boys.
Oh, I feel like I don't want to steal anyone's here. So my innovation of the year is the Beam chain. I'm extremely excited about what's coming in 2029 to 2030. I think the Beam chain is really going to scale Ethereum, and then in the next decade or so, we'll really be able to compete with the speeds of Solana. And so
me and Haseeb are ex-poker players. So
this is a joke. Yeah.
Trying to read the tells.
All right. Just making sure.
My real innovation of the year, and Taiki, I'm sorry if this is yours, but it's very topical for me seeing what's happening with Freysa AI. It's the AI agent. I'm similar to you, Taiki. There's not been something that's excited me where I think this could have a kernel of what's the future. Similar to what we had in DeFi. Like I'll never forget when we had Robert Leshner on, and Robert was like, in 2020, I actually believe this, this stuff could work too, where we had these like Ponzi mechanics, new food tokens launching all the time. Like we were all so bought in and we believed. I don't think we're there yet with AI agents, but I think there's this kernel and this thread to pull on where I think there's a real narrative here for mass adoption. And I think it actually makes sense, the narrative. At the start of the year, I had this hilarious tweet from Gort. Let's see if I can find it. But Gort basically said like the intersection of AI and crypto doesn't exist. A rare Gort miss. But actually we've seen like it actually does make sense for AIs to be using like crypto rails for settlement.
When you say the kernel of mass adoption of what?
That is a good question. While I think about that, I will highlight this Gort tweet. What's the shadowy place over there? That is the intersection of AI and crypto. You must never go there. At the start of the year, this was very much like taboo. I remember Bankless tweeted that like crypto is AI money, and it didn't make any sense. But now that's sort of pivoted. What I mean by this, Haseeb, is that it actually makes sense for AI agents to be interacting on blockchains, to settle value on blockchains, to transact on blockchains, because they're actually equal citizens on blockchains. Whereas in the real world, they're not treated as equal citizens, right? As far as mass adoption, I think it's twofold. I think there could be an application built here that's actually useful for people. But I think like the lower hanging fruit is that it's actually just mass adoption in the attention game, where people can convince themselves that this is the future and that you need to like involve yourself with crypto, similar to DeFi Summer. And so,
I mean, let's leave most of this discussion for the predictions, because I think while this just happened in Q4, we're kind of leading into 2025.
Yeah.
But a very solid one. Taiki, you were eager to go next. What do you got?
It has to be Pump Fund, right? That's literally the best.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Best thing that launched the cycle, best product market fit. I think when it first launched and started doing well, I think people, like most of the ETH maxers, like, oh, like this is just such a scam, such a scam. But if you take a look back in the past 12 months, it's basically like an ICO platform, right? You just make it easier to launch tokens. You standardize how to launch tokens. If you check like the contract address for pump fund tokens, it ends in pump. So like I don't have to think about it. It's like, okay, like it's safe. I can buy. It might not be safe in the sense that like people are like caballing it and scamming me that way, but I can't get rugged on like the token itself that way. And you know, I think pump fund is also kind of like a good example of like building something that people actually want, right? I think a lot of founders build crypto projects for like what they want it to be, right? Not what the market wants or like what it needs. Yeah, like I think
I mean,
Sneaky Juju and Elon, the founders, are pretty sharp.
Yeah, I mean, just the everyone's nodding that I noticed as soon as you said that. I think that's a very clear one. And I do notice something with all the best products of the cycle. We mentioned Hyperliquid, Ethena, and now Pump Fund. What they all do is the same thing. They all allow the everyday man to basically do something that professionals were doing. So Pump Fund allows you to be the dev. You know, you have the token now. You don't need to code and do all that stuff. You just, you know, you can make a token. And then Ethena allowed you to, you know, get basis trade. You don't have to do all this execution and figure out how to short and long and all this stuff. And like I mentioned, HLP, you know, lets you be the market maker in essence and provide liquidity. So it's like an easy button. People love the easy button in crypto, always has been. I think the people who get to reduce the number of clicks of account abstraction in 2025, when, you know, I'm waiting for whoever's going to win this game of like just making crypto very, very easy to use.
Shorty, that's so astute. You know, crypto's about letting you be your own, you know, XYZ. Aave, you can be your own bank. Uniswap, you can LP and swap by yourself. That's such an interesting point of view.
Yeah. Haseeb, any interesting innovations caught your eye?
Yeah, I think I think the obvious number one is the pump.fund bonding curve to LP transition. I think like that's now been copied over and over again. You see the same thing with the AI agent marketplaces. They take that same concept. To pick one that's different, I would say probably concentrated yield. This is the concept of, you know, for something like Athena, you have everybody who holds the stable asset, but not everybody actually gets the yield. Only people who are opting into getting the yield are getting the yield, which means that the people who are getting the yield are actually getting much more yield, because the yield for the entire platform is only being given to a small number of users who are opting in to take a less liquid form of the asset, but that gets this extra yield. So why does that matter? The reason why that matters is that now you can actually kind of juice the yields that people are getting. So you see the same thing happening with Usual. A bunch of these new generation stablecoins are doing this, where I think with Usual, it's like a stable coin with treasuries that you know, gives, you know, nominally you would think, okay, well, there's a stable coin that's backed by treasuries, there's 5% yield to go around, right? Because that's what the prevailing rate is on treasuries. But if only 25% of people are actually opting in to get the yield and taking in the less liquid form of the currency, they're actually getting 20% yield on top of this thing. Plus, you know, you get the stablecoin incentives.
Do you know who pioneered this, Haseeb?
I don't know who pioneered this, but I know that Athena was probably the one that made it most popular.
So it's actually very, very interesting. It's Frax. They had Frax ETH and Frax staked ETH, and only the staked Frax ETH accrued the staking yield. But the Frax ETH, they were doing, you know, old school DeFi farming mechanics of incentivizing the Frax ETH LP to get deep liquidity for Frax ETH, and then you'd have to stake your Frax ETH. And so they were able to juice the yields for stake Frax ETH for a long time.
That
yeah, and I think a lot of this, you know, having had a bunch of conversations, I understand that a lot of this was not even intentional. It was sort of like legally necessary. It becomes a different legal category if you sort of like split them up. It solves some of the legal problems, and it ended up working tremendously well. Like you said, I don't personally like this innovation because it feels very pool too. Like people just betting on the farming of the token, and then the token just kind of keeps getting more emissions, and we've seen this how it plays out last cycle. Everyone's doing well except the people holding the actual like governance token. Everyone else does well except people just sort of bag holding governance tokens down, and yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I mean, obviously,
well, hold on. I want to challenge that, because why? You know, think about Ether itself or any layer one asset, right? a layer one asset, you can take the staked version. So most people are not staking their ETH, right? For most proof of stake tokens that are newer, a much higher proportion of all the tokens are staked. But for something like Ether, actually, vast majority of Ether is not staked. So now that being said, you could stake your Ether, put it in Lido, make it transferable to the point where you have very little opportunity cost, right? Like you could just do that and trade, ST ETH and be like, whatever, I'm getting the staking yield and it's fine. Do you think this makes Ether worse, that all Ether by default is not opted into being staked? Do you think there's something mechanically different about this kind of concentrated liquidity thing, right? Because that's exactly what happens in proof of stake networks. There's a certain amount of emissions and it goes to everybody who's staked. So the fewer people staking, the higher the staking yield, and the staking yield goes down on a percent APR basis, the more people who stake, right? We see this every single network. Do you think this is bad and that all tokens at the base layer should be opted into staking by default?
I don't quite understand what you're saying, because it's a completely different mechanic. It's not like the people who don't stake are getting tokens instead. It's not like they're getting more governance tokens and then diluting the governance tokens. Like they're just not getting anything. So like it's just a different game. While the pool 2 game is basically like, oh, don't worry about your yield. Yeah. Yes, there's only like a certain amount of like fundamental yield being created, like you said, like 5% on whatever, like the actual USDC that's provided. Once you start adding all these games, and now we're seeing with Usual as well, where you can get this like tremendously like high APR if you short the perp and figure out how to. But these games all. I think your first principles approach is the correct one.
To be clear, I'm not endorsing Usual. I don't think Usual is a particularly good mechanic. Just it's a simple illustration.
Yeah, I think what Haseeb means is it's like a really good way to bootstrap when you're first like launching. It's kind of like points, right? It's like, oh, like last year, like, oh, points, so good, right? Oh, so amazing, oh, fantastic. But now it's like, oh, fuck these points. So it could turn out that way. But it's like a really good way to bootstrap growth initially by just juicing up yield and then compensating.
Okay, I mean, I'll just give my spicy take and we'll move on. I don't want to stick on this, but I think it's like pool 2. The dumbest money in all of crypto is always the people buying governance tokens and like just holding them. Like, yes, occasionally they get a huge win, like XRP or all these like Dino coins suddenly like pump when nobody expects, and you get this kind of stuff going on. But the dumbest money in crypto are the people buying tokens just because they heard of a token and the token doesn't like necessarily give them something. And the more you sort of feed on those people,
saying the quiet part out loud, Jordy.
WorldCoin
is the best. Talking about here?
Is this the best mechanic?
What? Are you seriously going to be shitting on governance tokens?
I mean,
all of them?
I'm not saying they're not going to do well. Like I'm saying, the dumbest money in crypto is the people buying like the dumbest money last cycle was obviously the people buying who was on the bid when people were like pool 2 farming. Somebody was buying yams and sushis and like all this stuff. Somebody was buying it, right?
Yeah. But you don't think like Aave and Uniswap and WorldCoin and all these things are different from buying like yams?
They are.
Great coins.
They are.
So why?
Okay.
So what do you mean when you say the stupidest money is buying governance tokens as opposed to what?
Well, there's a big. I think Jordy's making a distinction between like the farm tokens and then WorldCoin is building a network and it's creating like its own network token, right?
So in the mechanic you mentioned, Haseeb, you have someone who is farming the yield like from a stable coin, right? Like they're just getting the yield. You have someone who is in essence like farming the token, right? Like they're just like they're not staking it, but they're getting like the farming token instead. And then you have the people holding the token. And the people holding the token and not selling it as soon as they get it, they're not just playing the game of like, the hot potato game. Those people are the ones who are going to get punished and like learn a lesson. But anyway, we'll speed through. I'll just say like innovation of the year. Obviously, I agree with Taiki's. I am a big fan of what Kobe has done with Echo. It feels like someone has finally brought this like organic like community to the. I don't know how you feel about it as a VC.
What's the innovation though?
Well, the innovation is like doing it from like like obviously you have CoinList and you have Swissborg and you have all these things, but he's made it cool. He's made it cool, and we're
That's the
seeing.
innovation.
No,
Is he made it cool?
No. The
Well,
innovation is like someone with a really good rep made it. Like
yes, and he's
there's
made
been
it.
so many
Yes,
platforms that like I only joined because of Kobe. Like
yes,
I trust
and he's
Kobe.
made it.
Guys, that's
He's
not.
made it.
I'm sorry.
No, no,
Look,
no.
I love Kobe. That's not innovation.
It
That's
is
just not
because
innovation.
no, well, no, he's made it crypto native. It's a very crypto native.
Dude, they were all
like,
crypto native. What are you talking about? Do you guys remember Syndicate?
I mean, like,
Yeah, but they were not
crypto native in the sense
cool.
of like.
Yes, they were not cool. That's the difference. The difference is it's
Kobe's
not
innovation
cool.
is being
He made
That's
it-
not innovation. That's not innovation. That's just not being cool.
Okay,
It's
what
distribution. It's distribution. Good distribution.
I see
Exactly,
this sense
exactly.
like Haseeb Jordy host conflict going on here.
Jordy's gonna go bald
trying
at
to-
this point.
Trying to take over host properties, but it's not quite there yet. I'll get there.
How about like
By the
next
end of the show, I'm
episode?
going to be the host.
Next episode, like Jordy will be on the chopping block and Haseeb will be
Yeah.
like and steady
Okay,
lads.
perfect.
And like
Yeah,
Haseeb will
I
put
like
on a
that.
wig. Jordy will
Yeah.
just shave his head. And then we'll be like, what
All right.
Haseeb, you're looking
I'm telling. I'm gonna message Bo now. I'm gonna be the head hype man now. I'm gonna be the new head hype man of
Perfect.
Dragonfly.
Perfect.
All
You
right,
are more
guys,
of a
you're
hype
stuck
man
with
than I am,
Haseeb.
to be honest. Okay, nice.
Except for governance tokens.
Yeah.
Except for government tokens. All right, last one for 2024 is going to be Haseeb's favorite meme coin of the year. I know how much you love meme coins, Haseeb.
Oh, I love them so much. Ooh, the category is so good. We did it twice.
I had to do it twice. I'll give you a minute to like choose because I know you have so many, Haseeb. And
I do. It's all my babies. It's hard to pick my favorite. I would have to say, actually, I did have two picks. The first one I would say would be Mother, because somehow it's a celeb coin. It's like we used to have a name for these, which we used to call them social tokens, but somehow we managed to like psyop people into thinking this was a meme coin, even though it's like could not possibly be further than a meme coin. It's like literally one person owns the whole thing and is responsible for pumping it, which is like not the opposite of the spirit of meme coins. So I think in a way, like the fact that we were able to contort the concept of a meme coin to fit what is ultimately a celeb coin, which is actually we've had them in previous cycles as well, was I thought just very impressive. So I gave that one, and then second I'd say would be Hawk to a Hawk token, just because again perfect encapsulation of this cycle, and just the pure excess, the fraudulence, the laziness. I thought just everything about it was just like chef's
It was
kiss.
your classic meme.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's such like a
Classic meme
PC
coin.
pick for like bad memes.
Yeah. That's what hey, you asked. That's my meme coin of the year.
Oh yeah, what's the innovation, Haseeb? What's the innovation?
The innovation is that it's like the way I put it is that quantity is a quality of its own, and just the sheer speed with which they speed ran, this being a meme coin to this being an absolute rug pull with nobody involved having any idea what they were doing. I just thought it was so good. And the thing about it too is that it's one of the things that like almost everybody I know who's not in crypto has heard of, right? Like some people have heard of Doge. But most people I know, they've heard of very few things, but they heard about that one. So I just thought it's one of these things that like poked through the matrix and really got outside to like the real world.
I think every one that we talk about has to be one that poked through the matrix, because that's kind of like the whole point of the meme coin is to escape the matrix. Taiki, I can see you just chomping at the bit. I think we know, but just
Jordy, you should Jordy, you should front run him. You should front run him.
No, you can't do this to me. I've been waiting 50 minutes for this.
no,
Oh my god! See, this is what I'm talking about. Like Jordy, Haseeb, they don't even own fart coin, but they love farting. Jordy loves farting, and Haseeb. I mean, I don't know you personally, but I'm sure you fart a lot.
You can just tell. You can just tell.
Yeah. You probably your room is probably stinky. So fart coin is the best meme. It was created by an AI. Everybody farts. Every time I fart, I think about fart coin. And Haseeb, after doing this podcast, every time you fart, you're gonna think of fart coin, and you're gonna go crazy. It's the best meme coin. And Haseeb, you mentioned in the blog podcast that like you got like a random dinner and like someone talked about Fartcoin, so it's already crossed the chasm. It's not just a
It
CD thing.
has. It has.
So
That's right.
I love Fartcoin.
All right. Imagine the smell. That was an expected one, I had to say. Justin, do you have a favorite one?
I do, yeah. I think this year you have to bow down to the king, Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. I mean, Dogecoin has, in my opinion, really crossed the chasm this year. I mean, it's going to be insane that for the next 4 years, we're going to hear about Doge, every day, every week. I do think like every time we hear about it, like the relative pump we get from each mention and each, piece of press coverage mutes, the upside. But I'd say that has to be, the meme coin of the year. I mean, Doge has really gone mainstream. No one questions it anymore. No one thinks it should be worth zero. Everyone accepts that it's a $1 billion asset or multi-billion-dollar asset.
I mean, it's like 35 billion or something, or 30 or something. So I do wonder, like, next year how it will do. It will be in the news, obviously, and Elon is a very powerful person, but the emissions on that thing have not been great. I do personally have some Doge, so hoping it will do well. But let's see. My choice is Pengu, meme coin of the year. Obviously, just launched, so it's right at the end of the year. But this is something that I'm watching very closely, because what is a meme coin at the end of the day? Like, is a question that we're all grappling with, not just Haseeb, but like a lot of us trying to figure out like what exactly is this. And Pengu is the one that I'm paying a lot of attention to, because it brings culture, as well as like something that is accessible because it's in Walmart, and looks also very cute. It feels like it has the ingredients, and I'm just very curious if like those ingredients are what we think they are, or if it's farting, or like something that just makes like the 5-year-old in us come out. Like what is that ingredient? And I'm very curious to see how it does, and maybe it will define the category if it does well. So
Shorty, I have a question for you. When's the last time that you've been to a Walmart?
Well, I don't live in the US, so it's been a very long time.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
How about you?
I went to a Walmart a couple of years ago, but I don't know that I would even notice if there was a Pengu toy inside a Walmart. I mean, Walmarts are enormous.
I don't go to McDonald's anymore, but like if something's being given as a Happy Meal, I have to assume that there's a bunch of people out there that
would be insane. That would be another level if something were given out as like a Happy Meal toy.
All right, Luca, do you hear this? You got to get some little.
That's the next step. That's the next step for Pengu.
That's the next step.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps up our 2024. We'll go into like prediction, and we'll do two. We'll do one contrarian prediction and one kind of mainstream, let's say. Well, a mainstream 10. One. Oh, okay.
You're just making up new categories all of a sudden.
You have 10 predictions. All right. Well,
don't go through them all. Just high conviction. Just high conviction.
All right, Justin. Let's hear your predictions, and maybe
I can do a speed run session if that's best.
Okay, go for it.
All right. I think this is more or less consensus at this point, but I think just like Sol ETH was flat in 2024, which is shocking to me, I think it'll be more or less flat in 2025. I think the rotation next year is going to be what we're all expecting: hype, monad, Barachain, Meg ETH. I think we're going to see the same playbook play out again. I don't see any reason this time would be different, that we all congregate around one chain and stop the rotation game. My next prediction is actually that something with MicroStrategy kicks off the bear market. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but it seems to me that in our industry, the harder or the faster you rise, the harder you fall. That has been true in our space. We've seen time and time again. I know Do Kwon's extradition to the US was just approved. So I think something there will kick off the bear. I don't know if it's when the premium to NAV goes negative, just like we saw with the GBTC trade, but I think there's something there that's not going to be good. My third prediction, that all of the attention is going to be on the US Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, but I actually think the BRICS countries are going to be doing something big with BTC for posturing purposes. And I think that's going to be more the story next year than the Bitcoin strategic reserve. I think Coinbase drops a token next year. I think the base token drops once we have more clarity from the SEC and from the government. I think stablecoins are going to be a huge narrative next year. I think Visa, MasterCard, or someone at that level that's huge does something very big with stablecoins. That's not just sort of dipping their toes in the water. I think Polymarket becomes a major player in sports betting. I think all of that energy they built up for the election cycle transitions to sports betting, and they see like a huge surge in the platform there. And the last prediction is that Democrats double down on being anti-crypto. I think there's a consensus in our space right now that, well, crypto people won, so Democrats will now, align themselves with crypto and it'll be a nonpartisan issue. I actually think the reverse is true. I think they have to be everything anti-Republican, and Republicans are very pro-crypto now. So I think Democrats fight even harder against this. And I think in most cases, that's what their constituents want. So I cut out a few, but those are my, let's say, 5 top predictions.
That's
Nice.
a
All right.
very that last one I think is actually very interesting. One of the things that I think nobody's been thinking about, and I'm just now thinking about this, is I don't actually think it's true today that Democrats are anti-crypto. I think for the most part, like Democrats have flipped to being softly pro-crypto, not obviously as vocal as Republicans and not as laissez-faire as Republicans. But I think it's pretty clear that at this point, crypto is so popular, and when crypto is popular, every party's for it. Right? It's like certain things just are popular and everyone's for it. So like lower prices, everyone's for it. Anti-China, everyone's for it. So I think a really interesting prediction is that something happens that flips the Democrats. Like there's some blow up or there's some like political moment or something that happens in crypto that particularly turns off the Democrats and makes them flip back. That I think would be crazy, something that I don't think many people are thinking about.
The catalyst there, the most obvious one now, is the BSR, right? I mean, just imagine it actually gets seriously proposed, and Trump is saying we need a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and leading Republicans are as well. There's no world where the Democrats are not saying we're just going to be enriching crypto billionaires by doing this, right? They're going to be so anti that it's going to make your head spin. There's just no other policy position for them that makes sense.
Do you really think the Bitcoin reserve is going to pass Congress, even like a Republican-led Congress? I don't think it will.
From what I read, I mean, they can stop selling with executive order, and there's some precedent that they could start buying through executive order. I've seen some research from some Bitcoin research, policy groups that has said that. I don't think it could pass Congress, though.
Yeah, if it doesn't pass Congress, I really don't think that they can buy Bitcoin on the balance sheet of Treasury. I think anybody who thinks that is kind of out of their mind.
Yeah, I don't think so. Justin, which one of those would you say is your most contrarian take? Because we gotta just
Coinbase drops a token for base.
I don't know. Like I feel like I kind of agree with that one, and I disagree with a lot of the other ones.
I have a contrarian one.
All right, I'll go with the MicroStrategy one then. Everyone loves Saylor. It's great. He owns over 2% of the entire
That doesn't
Bitcoin
seem
supply.
contrarian to me at all.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Contrarian
consensus.
to me.
That's also
All right,
consensus.
Before we go to Taiki, just on this Sailor thing, can you bring up this tweet? Because I think this is real. I think GCR, who is the king of predictions, had an AMA on Thickies, like our Thickies Telegram channel. And if you go to the second tweet, so not this one, the second one, he gets asked about Michael Saylor. And if you look at the middle, he says, what percentage chance you give Michael Saylor blowing up within the next 5 years? He says, I don't know if Saylor will blow up, but I do suspect he's a gambler who doesn't know how to ever tone down his risk. I don't think he's an off switch or know how to protect capital. He's an adrenaline addict. His cost basis might eventually go to 150K. And I do think we'll have another 70% drawdown. We've puked 40% just this summer. And he says at some point there might be some macro black swan. And nobody really knows what will happen in that scenario if he's underwater. But like I think his shareholders are going to get fully diluted with all the convertibles and everything going on. I don't think anyone really knows how this plays out. We're in like new territory here, but I just wanted to give people GCR's thoughts.
Breaks before the BSR. There we go. That's my contrarian pick.
Yes.
All right.
Go ahead, Taiki.
All right. I think next year, ETH is going to hit all-time highs. It'll hit like 5K, 5.5K. The community, CT will be euphoric. They're going to call for 10K ETH. They're going to call for the alt season of all alt seasons. Everyone's going to be euphoric. And then that's going to be the top. That's when you want to sell everything. 5.5K ETH, like ETH will just get a little bit, beyond all-time highs. And that's when you want to sell everything. I feel like that's actually what's going to happen. I think like last year I said, not publicly, but I was like, yeah, like maybe this cycle ETH never hits an all-time high. I feel like ETH will hit an all-time high. It just has to. I think the degens will like pump it so hard, or try to pump it so hard. But I think it's going to have issues getting past 6K. And ETH BTC always goes parabolic at the tail end of cycles. And I think whenever ETH hits all-time highs, you want to click the sell button or start to click the sell button. I think that's going to be near the end. So that's my prediction.
Cool, interesting prediction.
I thought you were going to be pissed. Is that consensus? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't see a world where it goes to like 5,000 and then back down. I think it's either no all-time high or blast through it. I mean, that's what we've seen in our space time and time again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think you're right about like it. Well, sorry, go ahead, Jordy.
I was just saying, I just got a DM from Thicky. He confirmed that it was GCR. Like those are real kind of casual quotes from GCR, so that it's not a fake one.
Hi, Thicky. We miss you. Bear post with us.
Haseeb, you must have some interesting predictions here.
Interesting prediction. So one prediction I have is that we enter a bear market, like a deep bear market at some point next year, at a time when things are supposed to be going right. So I would guess it's kind of like Trump stuff is happening and SEC is turning over and everyone is like, why are markets going down? It's supposed to be good. These are the things that we all said we wanted. So it often feels like the bear markets happen for inexplicable reasons sometimes, or at least they source from some inexplicable reason. Is that it's just like the thing that everyone was waiting for shows up and it's like, okay, this is supposed to be good, but in fact it just ends up being like the end of the unreasonable bullishness. I think another element of that prediction is that like I liked actually Justin's thesis that Democrats are going to flip, and I think maybe it's that like Democrats flip just because prices start going down and people start getting like really mad that like, hey, Trump isn't pumping the Bitcoin price. Like what's going, like why aren't things going up anymore? That maybe that results in some kind of deeper sentiment shift. In terms of predictions, it's easier for me to like riff off of what other people are saying. Taiki, I think I more or less agree with yours that probably like ETH is going to be this like one of the last movers of this cycle. I think, however, the fixation on Saylor, I think is probably going to be a mistake in retrospect. A Saylor is going to matter, but I think he's going to matter actually really late. I think it's like early on, the thing that actually ends the cycle is going to be, it's not going to be the obvious things. It almost never is. Usually it's like the domino that's the one we're all waiting to fall is like the seventh domino in the series, but it ends up being a very important one, just fairly late in the causal chain. So my guess is going to be that everyone's fixated on Saylor and there's something else that starts growing tentacles and like, just being this gigantic, disgusting thing off in the corner that does eventually be the thing that blows up. So
do you think
like the Terra,
do you think it has to be
do
you think it has to be crypto native, or can it just be macro? I mean,
bonds,
it
can totally just be macro.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Bank of Japan just like raises rates too many times and just like kills that carry trade. And then maybe that just, causes a big snarl in liquidity, which cause people to just pull tons of money from crypto. Or it could even be something geopolitical, like, North Korea just starts amassing too much crypto and then like, a bunch of countries freak out and start saying like, hey, we need to make this stuff harder to access. And that just starts killing crypto markets. And so something actually reasonably benign looking that ends up having these big domino effects that knocks over these things one at a time. But the thing that we're worried about is not the first thing.
Yeah. I have a feeling like macro is going to come back pretty hard next year. And you remember this point of last cycle, Haseeb, towards the end where suddenly like everybody became a macro guy. Like, they went from being COVID vaccine experts to like, really just listening to all the macro podcasts. I think it's coming back because what Trump policies do is they distort, the normal functioning of markets, and they start creating just these weird kinks in interest rates and inflation expectations and devaluations of dollars and tariffs. And there's just so many things that are going to get bundled up. The only good way it ends is if the Doge cuts are actually legitimately value creating, where they cut waste and GDP goes up and it's all productive. But I've said many times I expect a huge showdown once Trump gets in office with Powell, and I think the two of them are going to go back and forth. And Powell has absolutely no incentive to bow down. I mean, he's got a year and a half left, and he's got his legacy. He doesn't care about anything else. So we're going to have some fireworks, and I think we saw glimpses of that already during the last press conference. One thing that I want to get everyone's thoughts on before we go to pastas is, predictions. We all know that right now the meta is all around AI. AI agents specifically seems to be the category that has the most attention, and the coins are going up the most, and sort of environments are getting created, and it's quite new. I'm getting good and bad vibes on the Ponzi side. I think there was a tweet here. If we can bring up, somebody tweeted today. They read my Olympus Dow 3.3 article from years ago, and they replaced everything with AI. So he says, as many of the components can be replaced with AI, maybe even everything. These AIs can start creating insane things using speculation. He's saying maybe for better causes. We have seen this week, obviously, some discussion around Mira, which was an Memecoin that is also, in essence, allowing the largest holder to fund some, cancer research, I believe.
Yeah.
And this is what Vitalik has always talked about wanting meme coins to do, which is have these public goods. But I mean, we're just in this uncharted territory now. Haseeb, I know you've been doing a lot of Web 2 studying of agents and stuff. Any predictions on what happens there?
I mean, it's funny that we call that Web 2 because it's not it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't even exist yet, right? Agents aren't working. So first, let's take a step back, right? We call these things agents. We know what we mean, which is we mean AI inflected meme coins. In what sense are these things agents? Now, when we talk about agents in the AI perspective, what we mean is that we already have things like GPT-4 and Claude and all that, which are not agents, right? We call them chatbots, but we don't call them agents. Why don't we call them agents? We don't call them agents because they don't perform actions, and they don't iteratively behave, building on previous behaviors to make long-term plans. Okay, that is the thing that we call agentic. It acts like a person. It has, long-standing memories and plans and intentions and goals. The AI meme coin, Twitter accounts, they're not really agents. They're not doing things. They don't have long-term plans. They're not they're just kind of chatbots, but they're chatting to other people on Twitter. They're not sending money. They're not accomplishing goals. Now, the reality too is that these agents that exist right now, they're all kind of Wizard of Oz style agents. Now, what do I mean by Wizard of Oz style agents? What I mean is that they're not just putting some kind of llama AI model in a loop and saying, okay, just do the next thing, do the next thing, do the next thing, because they realize if they did that, it would quickly go off the rails. Right? Just actually try using one of these agents yourself and realize that these things do not work right now. They just get
very
confused.
Dumb,
they go around
right?
in circles. They're very dumb. They're very, very dumb.
But
so the reason why they don't do that is because if they did, these things would really quickly start getting racist. They would send all their money to some random person like Freysa. I just think about Freysa is an actual agent. Freysa is what it looks like when you have an agent operating in a loop that actually can do things like send money. If you did that, instantly these things would get drained of all their money. So because these things are just not that reliable yet. So you have to have a human being there, maintaining a certain vibe, deciding which comments to respond to, making sure it doesn't say anything racist or really crazy that's going to hurt your brand. And so these things are really like a ventriloquist controlling a little dummy, right? That's what all these things are right now, and that's okay. It's a fun game. People like the meme coin, people like the meme coin vibe, and they're telling a bigger story about what these agents might do someday in the future. And I get that story. It's obviously a very compelling story because they will, at some point in the future, become better forms of KOLs and better forms of influencers in every domain, right? Because they're cheaper, they're real time, they're 24/7. They never get bored. They never have to, they never have to go deal with their kids or have a life or take a vacation or whatever. They're just constantly out there doing the KOL game. But I think what agents are going to do in crypto is going to be much bigger than just replace influencers. I think they will replace some influencers. Some influencers, like if you think of AIXPT, which is this AI bot that basically just does.
Do you guys all like read AIXPT? I followed it just to see, and like it's just been kind of not like, it's been a lot of garbage. I actually unfollowed. I don't know. Do you guys still follow? Do you read the tweets? Do they ever make sense or?
No, I mean, it doesn't. But the thing is, it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like the higher the price goes, there's more attention on the agent and what it tweets out. So maybe it's all garbage and slop. But if people pump the token, then it might actually be a self-fulfilling prophecy and have signal, right? But yeah, I agree. Like right now, all these agents are kind of boring. They're not that great, but it allows people to dream. I think that's the most important part about this meta. It's only two.
I think we all kind of agree that we're at very early stages, but O3 has come out. Like that's kind of one of the big news this week, and it's not available for public access. It's in safety training. There's people doing benchmarking and stuff with it, but the tweets that I'm reading are like people that are like terrified. I mean, there's Dave White from Paradigm. He's like, he can't sleep at night now. There was a guy kind of like writing this like very long, but very useful thread. Maybe I can find this and link it because he really kind of deep dives into what he expects. And, short answer is like, there's a lot coming. Mathematicians are going to go out of business. Like, he doesn't think software engineers are going to go out of business. He actually thinks they're going to be like very important, especially ones that can vertically integrate across the entire abstraction layer. And it's actually like very bullish for them that, they'll be sort of supercharged rather than replaced. And that's good for all the CTOs out there.
Very backwards to me. This sounds very backwards to me. I think engineer, I used to be a software engineer. I still write code when I can, but it's very, very clear that software is going to be the first thing that AIs are going to supersede humans at. And that has huge consequences for crypto. I mean, we're a software industry. The only things in crypto are software based. So if you see the cost of creating things in crypto just plummet over the course of like a year or two, when these agents start really getting good, that's going to have massive consequences for the ease of launching products, the security of those products. Like the amount of hacks you're going to see in crypto are going to go way, way down with the advent of AI. I think just the ability to have users be able to easily create and submit their own software and have like these things where everybody is contributing, not just like the developers, but like literally individual people. We used to talk about this back in the day that like, if you think of Compound Bravo, the governance system for a lot of things in DeFi, the whole idea was that every single governance proposal would have the code that people would directly vote on that changes in place. And that was such a cool idea, but the reality is that it kind of stopped working because nobody understands code. And the people who are actually participating in governance weren't sophisticated enough to understand it. That changes very, very soon, right? Once you have an agent that can not only write the code for you and write it extremely well, but also explain to you in human readable, understandable way what this code does, all of a sudden it's like you have your own team of software engineers working for you. Everybody has a team of software engineers working for them. How does that change a software-mediated world like crypto? I think it's going to be absolutely fucking massive. Focusing on influencers is just absolutely the wrong place to be looking about how crypto is going to change with the advent of agentic AIs.
Yeah. Just before we go to pasta, I found this tweet thread. Maybe we can just bring it up and then everybody can read it in their own time. But the account is William Brick, BRYK. He says, thoughts on the eve of AGI. A lot of people are convinced that we're very close now, just given what we've seen with O3. If you scroll down a little bit, he does make some pretty clear predictions here. He says that, O3 is not shocking. We kind of knew that this was coming, but he says agents are definitely coming in 2025. There's no way that models like O3 are not going to be able to let these things take actions. And it's going to be a huge market, automating computer work. It's a big incentive. So capable agents are are near. I think O3 is kind of the thing that unlocks it, unlocks memory, unlocks, just like capacity to execute on your device and do these kind of tasks that we want them to do. So it'll be, I think, something that we'll be talking about a lot next year. We'll go to
Jordy,
Pasta. I
before
think.
Pasta,
Yeah.
did you lay out a prediction aside from the macro comments you sort of piggybacked on Haseeb? Do you have a bold prediction?
I didn't piggyback off the macro comments. I brought up the macro
It was a
comments.
piggyback.
Total piggyback. Typical KOL behavior.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's very consensus. The consensus is just that I think agents and AI will be a big part of crypto next year. I agree that a lot of the current stuff will get washed out because it's just around speculation. But there will be a few categories that will do very well. One, of course, is entertainment, like, which agents will be very entertaining, and we saw even like Lil Michaela, years ago be very successful. I think we'll get a much better version of that now. I do think that the people that do the best in the category are going to be the ones that are doing partnerships with Web2 companies. And my one kind of big prediction is that there will be 1, 2, 3 at least of these AI 16Z or one of these other ones that will do partnerships with the actual big labs, the Anthropic, DeepMind, OpenAI, Grok, XAI. I think that we will actually see a headline in 2025, maybe 2 or 3 headlines that will be like, this crypto agent company or whatever it is, framework, something, is doing a partnership with Anthropic or whatever it is. And I think the attention of those labs on crypto will increase very drastically next year. So
I will take the other side of that.
And I know Haseeb disagrees.
Take the other side of that.
I know.
So, yeah.
I'm ready for it.
Okay, good.
I'm ready for
That's
it.
what makes the market.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
All right, boys. We have 10 minutes left. We'll go to pasta. We have 2 pastas each. We have a pasta of the week and we have pasta of the year, given where we are. Let's bring up the graphic. Where's the graphic? There it is. I love that one. All right, Justin, you want to kick off?
Yeah, here's my pasta of the week. So we've seen all of the funny little chatter about Hyperliquid. It's centralized. Maybe North Korea is going after it. And I saw this nice little remix of this meme. Know the work rules. Brian Armstrong. I'm running a single sequencer multi-sig chain. Oh, you're so sweet. And then Hyperliquid. I'm running a 4 validator multi-sig chain. Hello, human resources. This was absolutely hilarious because it's so true. In our industry, people like to build narratives around things that upset them and things they care about. And this is another example of that. Evan says, silent security researchers, an airdrop farmer is talking.
Wait, is that your pasta of the year? Which one? What's going on?
Those are both pasta of the week. It's the piggyback pasta. So, same category.
So no pasta of the year? You're just doing 2 pastas.
Oh, I have that. Yeah. All right. I'll jump right into pasta. So I don't know if you guys remember this from April. This is a bit of a throwback, but at one of the conferences we had the WIF dancer here, and this is from April 5th. I think the conference was from a couple days before that, and this was the exact top for WIF, which is absolutely hilarious. This is a throwback for me. I remember when this dropped. This was like the peak cringe in like Q1 of this year. But look how far we've come. Now we're talking about things like Fartcoin. So our space is always developing.
I mean, it kind of goes show, like for meme coins, when you don't have a clearly defined brand leader, like Penguins does with what Luca's doing, any random community member can like take over your brand, and like it can be like really bad. Ketamine guy didn't do any favors for Ansem's bags. Okay, decent one was a throwback. Taiki, you have some pastas?
Yeah. So Justin, can you just share my screen? I have a new pick for pasta of the year, but yeah, the first pasta of the week was this. So Roastmaster 9000 is like some AI bot that is just meant to roast people. and it responded to a tweet of Charles Hoskinson. And I don't think Charles Hoskinson is in the trenches. I don't think he knows what's going on. So he thought that this is like a real person. He's like, yo, like, what evidence do you have that Cardano smart contracts don't work? Be very specific. What can Cardano not do? And then the roast master just like auto replied like some like random slop. And then Charles Hoskinson's like, really,
it wasn't
really mad.
random slop. It was really good slop. Can you read it? read the it was a great roast.
All right, damn, Charles, you want specifics like your blockchain wants adoption desperately. I'd explain, but your TPS is so low. My response might take till 2025 to process. Keep that same energy for your development timeline, though. Actually, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah, and then Charles got mad, and then one of the Cardano girls was like, "Hey, Charles, that's literally a bot designed to roast people." I thought this was hilarious. Like, just this Charles Hoskinson just engaging with an AI bot, not knowing. I just thought that was really funny.
Primo pasta, very good pasta.
Yeah, and then my pasta of the year, I just, I remember this. I was like laughing out loud. It's like the Renzo pie chart. It's like this.
Oh my god.
30.
Wow.
I totally forgot this happened, but like they released their tokenomics and they just, I don't know, like a picture says 1,000
Change
words.
the scale of the pie.
Yes. This is good times. Good times. Those are my picks.
Good throwback.
Wow.
We were all so naive back then.
Yes.
Simple time.
Look how far we've come.
Haseeb, do you have some pastas?
Yes. So I just posted them here in the chat. So the first one for the week is this one came out Christmas Day or the day right after Christmas or Christmas evening. So I think kind of self-explanatory, but it's a child opening ether as its Christmas present, and their parents showing the middle finger and laughing in the background. So for those of you who are only listening and not watching, just imagine that scene and imagine how it resonates with all of us who've been longtime ETH holders. And then for the year, my copy pasta for the year was actually a banger from Justin Sun. So Justin Sun, hero of the industry, recently turned 34 and posted a photo, as he does every year, of himself at his birthday party. The only weird thing is that at this birthday party, he seems to have grown a couple extra fingers. And his little birthday celebration thing says, it looks from a distance like it says happy birthday, but if you look closely, it says happy sibth day, boss. And so people speculated that, is this AI generated? Did you generate an image of yourself at your own birthday? And he was like, no, of course not. This is not at all AI generated. Someone just took a photo of me in our office. Ha ha ha. And this ended up taking the internet by storm. So I was just so tickled by this and imagining Justin Sun alone on his birthday. But congratulations to His Excellency for another year around the sun.
I love the comment as well by Lawrence there, Function Zero. He said, bro said, and he's got 6 fingers, which is like a typical AI issue. It always gives too many fingers on images. So,
but I think for his birthday next year, though, that won't be a problem. I mean, the AI image generation has advanced so much.
They've all gotten way better.
Yeah,
that's right. This is the last year that we're going to know for sure that you did not have an actual birthday celebration.
Okay, so I'm gonna do my pasta of the weekend of the year. They're actually both from this week, so maybe I didn't go as throwback as you guys. Let's start with Jadudu here. So Jadudu has found the red button as well. She's not always long. It seems like she started short on the crypto bull market. Just ended with the one remark from Powell. Can we just like put a few seconds of Jadudu just crushing the KRW numbers here? The glee in getting a short right is something that makes me believe that the crypto casino will be alive and well in 2025. I have no doubt. So shout out to our favorite Jadudu. And I think let's do pasta of the year here. I have my pasta of the year from Arterium. This was one that really cracked me up. So the background is Hyperliquid has been used by some North Korean wallets, and apparently they got liquidated, longing ETH at 3,700 and went down to like 3,200. So they got liquidated, I think, for 500K or something. And somebody put together this image of Kim Jong-un looking at his guy, his military guy, sitting at the computer. And he says, "What does it mean? It's just an email, sir. I saw the subject. What does it mean, increased margin? Nothing, sir. Please don't worry. ETH is a good asset." So I have no idea what's going on in North Korea, what kind of stuff they're trying to exploit, or what's going on. But the fact that they got liquidated on an ETH long, and Kim Jong-un is now also he feels our pain is, I mean, this has to be my submission. I thought this was excellent. So we have polls up, apparently. First, we're going to do past of the week poll. So while those numbers come in, we do have a request from the chat, BTC price prediction. So 1 year from now, maybe let's do that while we wait for the poll to come in. Haseeb, what's your BTC price prediction 1 year from now?
1 year from now, so end of year next year. That's a good question. I would guess, I feel like the answer is like 130. I think Bitcoin probably hits like 150, 160 over the course of the year, and then retrenches a lot, and then recovers up to like 130. That's my guess of how the year looks.
Seems like a kind of middle of the probability distribution function.
Isn't that the point of a prediction?
That's good. That's good. Taiki, you're fully left curve now. How do things look from the left curve point of view?
A year from now?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a chance that we're going to be like at the same price, like from like 100K, like 105K, 105K. Everyone thinks the 4-year cycle is going to play out. Everyone longs into like Q3, Q4, and then we just kind of.
I mean, people. There's something to be said. There's something to be said for what you said. I mean, it's a meme. It's a meme coin. Like Bitcoin is a meme coin, and people love round numbers. And 100,000 is just like such a round number that I can see things just gravitating back and forth around this memeable round number. We're so far away from 420,069 that 100,000 might be where we just end up. That's seems likely.
Yeah.
For me, I think peak this year is 169K, and then in a year, it's anyone's guess when the bear starts. But I think 169 is like a good number. I mean, I agree with you guys. Like 125 to 150 seems reasonable, but 169 is much more non-consensus. So I'll go with that. But yeah, tough to say where we'll be at a year. I'm just hoping that bear market is pushed back till late Q1 2026. That's my hope.
We'll give a number
for a year from today. So basically Gen 1 next year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 85.
Oh
wow. Okay. All right. Lower than now.
ETH must be like at 2K then.
It's
ETH at all-time high. ETH at all-time high. Bitcoin 85.
Results in the meanwhile, streaming in now.
They're streaming in. Before I give my Bitcoin prediction, Taiki has won pasta of the week. So congratulations there. We have pasta of the year poll now before we wrap up the episode. I know it's been a long one, but there's been so many things to discuss and chew through.
Guys, unfortunately, I do have to drop.
Okay.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm gonna miss the pasta of the year, but I'll check it up on once it comes out.
All right.
Thanks, Haseeb.
Thank you guys for putting up with me.
Thanks, Haseeb.
See you all.
Thanks for your time.
Ciao.
All right. Let's give a number. I do think by Q4, end of Q4, we do have a dip. Typical fizzy exits early. So I think the peak is going to be around 180 to 220, and end of year I kind of see us around, sort of in that like 140 range, which I think was kind of similar to Haseeb's, but I have a much higher peak. I think we go a lot higher before we dip. So that's my feel. It's based on intuition, but we'll see. All right, let's see who won Pasta of the Year.
Shorty, it looks like you're ahead with 32% of the vote. And you officially won.
All
You
right.
won?
Well, Taiki, you totally destroyed the Pasta of the Week, 51%. So
Wait, no, I
congrats on
won.
that.
I won.
No, that was Pasta of the Week.
Oh,
It's tied for
we're
Pasta
tied.
of the Year.
We need some more votes here. So let's get the last votes in.
I think the poll is
This is
closed
poll
now.
complete. It's okay, Jordy.
Poll
I'll
complete.
give it to you. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. I'm nice.
Okay.
It's a time of giving.
I'm not gonna hold any sex toys, unfortunately. So sorry.
Not
Taiki.
yet, at least.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining in the chat. It's been a crazy year, and I think we're gonna have another one coming up. So we'll see all the lads then. Take care, everybody.